A month ago, I made a video about Dart Zone, some of their blasters, events, and recent trademarks that had kind of left me feeling uncertain of their future. I'd really liked them from the beginning, and now I wasn't really sure where Dart Zone was going, and I wanted to share some of my frustrations with you guys, and see if I was on the right path or if maybe I was completely out of line. And well, there are other things I'd like to talk about, not just talking about Dart Zone. But some recent things have happened, and I felt it was only fair to address them because, in some ways, they've changed for the better. Especially this. What's up everyone, my name is Brett, and sometimes I wear a hat. And before we get into the more recent updates, I feel it's only fair that we go back to that previous video I made and talk about some feedback that you left for me in the comments section. And I gotta say, overall, you guys were very kind. For anyone who actually watched the video and left a comment, seriously, I really do appreciate it. I'm glad to see that a lot of people were willing to share their own experiences, and for the most part, I got a lot of comments that were agreeing with me and just kind of sharing some of that confusion, frustration, like, yeah, I was a fan of Dart Zone in the beginning, and I still am, but this blaster's got a problem, this blaster's got a problem, I don't understand this. What's going on? And that was the whole point. But of course, there were some people who disagreed, and that's totally understandable. That's naturally going to be the case. So I wanted to talk about a few of those dissenting opinions and quickly touch on some of the most common arguments I'll see in my comment section or on the internet or in person, God forbid, in general. At least Dart Zone is better than Nerf. This is the most common one, by far. You can't talk bad things about Dart Zone because look what Nerf's doing. Therefore, Dart Zone is good. And it's like, okay, you can compare companies all you want, and we always will. You know, it's a fair thing to do. But if you're only gonna compare companies, then you are missing the big picture. Let's say Hasbro releases a blaster that you think is terrible. It's awful, worst thing they've ever made. 1 out of 10. Well, Dart Zone can release a bad blaster that's slightly better. Maybe it's not as bad. It's a 3 out of 10. Good job. Dart Zone is still better than Nerf in that comparison. But did you get a good product? No. All we're asking for is good stuff. We're saying that yes, we want Dart Zone to be better than Nerf, but not marginally better. We want them to excel. We want them to make good stuff, and we'll support it. It's not rocket science. And before the Nerf Pro Strife X hit the scene, what were people even comparing Dart Zone products to Nerf products for? Like, oh, this new Dart Zone Nexus Pro is way better than the Nerf Hyper Mach 100. I mean, like, it's kind of comparable, but not really. Now you can say if you think something like the Omnia Pro is better than the Strife X, and that is an argument worth having. But if the previous argument was only that Dart Zone makes the products we want and Nerf does not, well then there isn't even really a comparison to make. It's just, yes, Nerf is not making what we want, therefore Dart Zone is automatically better. And I'm just not sure if that's the right way to think about it. Dart Zone has done so much for us. Stop complaining. No, I will continue to complain, thank you very much. But seriously, I've given Dart Zone all their due credit. I said that I liked their stuff from the beginning. I've supported them for ages. Go back to my previous videos. Years prior, I have been with them for a long, long time, hyped them up. Some would say I even blindly supported them back then, or still shill the Nexus Pro unnecessarily. And your opinions on that are your own, just like my opinions are my own. But I try to back up my opinions with my experiences. And I have always told people that I think Dart Zone has done a great job of getting more eyes on this hobby and pushing our sort of modified scene even further. But they didn't invent half darts. They didn't invent modified blasters or modified style performance, something that's just slightly above Nerf Elite, Nerf N-Strike, Nerf N-Strike Elite. That's the one. Dart Zone became a major player for North Americans like myself in giving us more options that you could actually go to stores and buy. And I do think that was a big deal and will always be something that they can have credit towards. But again, they're not alone in doing it, and I don't think that if Dart Zone hadn't existed, that we wouldn't be playing with half darts and half-length magazines at this time. I'm gonna have to say it out loud again. Gosh, this is embarrassing. Worker makes the better darts compared to Dart Zone. Dart Zone makes the more available darts overall. So you could find Dart Zone darts more easily, again, if you're like in North America primarily, but I don't think they make necessarily the best blasters or the best darts, but somewhere in between there's a price to consider, and that's where they creep up and get a little bit more recognition. But the Outlaw is good, the blank blaster is good. I thought I made this clear in my video, but my main point was about their pro offerings. You know, their mainly expensive MK blasters like the one you see behind me. I was focusing, when it came to blasters, more on that stuff. Like, yes, of course they still make decent blasters. I've heard good things about the Outlaw, even if it's not perfect, and their new motorized flywheel blaster that takes full-length darts, they seem to be doing a good job with those. The Stranger Things tie-ins, I mean, those are tie-in blasters, they look like fun. I'm not going to complain about those. Oh, Dart Zone can't get IPs, but Nerf can get IPs, and I have no problem with that. But for a company that seems to be super invested in pushing the bar forwards on their hottest new, powerful half-dart blasters, or full-length and half-dart shooting blasters, I was saying that those seem to be suffering from the biggest problems, and at the biggest prices, not ideal. But if you still feel that I'm biased on this topic and I'm just a Dart Zone hater, well, then you can go to a different channel that only says nice things about Dart Zone. Trust me, they're out there. But I am gonna tell you what I actually think, again, based off of my experiences. Speaking of which, nope. Blaster tag trademark, I tried. We talked about this one last time, and a lot of people talked about it when the time came to oppose the trademark. And that opposition window closed and nothing was done. That was the consensus because it seemed like there was not going to be any opportunity to actually stop Dart Zone or their parent company from moving forward with it, which was a little bittersweet, and we kind of didn't know what was going to happen next. But what we didn't expect to happen next was this. United States Patent and Trademark Office, blaster tag, that's the one. Filing date, July 6, 2022. That is just around the Dart Zone Pro Tournament of 2022. Coincidence, coincidence. Published for opposition August 15th. That's when we started talking about it a little bit more. Live dead indicator. Uh-oh. Dead. Can we get a quick salute for the fallen trademark? It was so young. It only lasted a month. Actually, wait. So the window for filing opposition closed, like, what was that, second week of September? It only lasted like a week. Now this will shock absolutely no one, but Dart Zone hasn't publicly commented on this. Very strange indeed. All we can really do right now is speculate. Why was their trademark abandoned? They got it through, there was no opposition filed, so did Dart Zone ask their parent company to take it down? I don't know. What was the ultimate convincing factor? Did they do it out of the goodness of their heart, or did they do it because one brave man made a video and it struck a nerve and they finally decided to take action? And that's a load of horseshit. To be fair, if we're putting out conspiracy theories, I posted my previous video on the 16th of September and the trademark was abandoned on the 25th of September. So there's a good chance they saw my video before that. I'm also very much joking. I don't think that Dart Zone saw my video and decided to push this up the chain and say, kill it, get rid of it, make Bearet happy. I also don't think that they saw the community's complaints and were just like, wow, so many people seem so negative about this. Maybe we really should listen to the community and change things up. I'd like to believe that it had some impact. I really think that someone or some ones behind the scenes were the real turning point for this. I honestly don't know. I'm gonna ask you guys to leave your best speculation and conspiracy theory in the comment section down below. I am glad that the trademark is now abandoned and that Blaster Tag no longer has this unknown cloud hovering over it where we would like maybe be using it for Blaster Tag Association or maybe not for fear of what Dart Zone might do, even if they said they weren't going to. Again, things happen, people change. I'm glad that's not going to be the case. So for what it's worth, thank you, Dart Zone, for not having that trademark owned. I'm sure you can find something that makes more sense to your brand specifically because you are Dart Zone, and we can't take that from you, so don't take stuff from us, please. Ultimately, I think this could be a positive turning point where we can all hold hands together and say in unison that Dart Zone listens to the community. So, Yay. And you know what? While I've got you here, why don't we talk about Toy Fair 2023? I wasn't there. I've been invited to Toy Fair like once from Busby. You guys rock. But I saw some stuff from Dart Zone's booth and I'd like to comment on it. The good, the bad, and the what. So I saw they had some special Mark IVs, a gold edition and a metallic red. Looks good. Hey, gold plating. Nice and fancy. I heard that there was like Black Friday special or giveaway special, not entirely sure on the details there. I said this before, the Mark IV for me is kind of a big old meh. Like, yeah, it's a functional blaster for the most part. So if you like these cool skins and you want to seek them out, then good luck. No problems with the cool skins. I think those are nice. I gotta also be completely honest, guys. Since my last video, I gave away my Mark IV, or I traded it. I no longer have it. If you know, you know, and if you don't, well, technically you've seen it, most likely. It's in this video right now. Shh. The coolest thing they had there was not a blaster at all, but it was an injection molded BCAR, or close enough. I know some people are sticklers on the naming convention, but for all intents and purposes, that's what I'm calling it. It's orange with plastic wheels. You can get a good look at this here. I think this is the perfect product for Dart Zone to make at this point because almost all of their pro blasters, from like the Nexus to the Mark IV without the front barrel to the Mark 1.2, I mean almost any I can think of, maybe not the Mark 1, has that open barrel in the front that you can put attachments on. So they've done a really good job of making that pretty standardized, even if some blasters are a tighter fit than others. It's almost like the Pro N-Strike barrel lug adaptation, except it's a lot simpler and there's no N-Strike barrel lug. If this injection molded orange plastic BCAR is affordable, like it's really cheap, and it is actually cross-compatible on most Dart Zone Pro offerings, I think this is going to be an excellent product. You can advertise now getting actual better accuracy out of your blasters. They want to actually get some good accuracy out of some of their less accurate bamboo darts. Maybe this is how you do it. But okay, last one, you know what it is. It's the chalk darts, or what they're calling, I think, the tags darts. I'm calling them chalk darts because we've seen chalk darts before and this is just the newest iteration, and I think this is super dumb. This is the dumbest thing I've seen in a while, and I have to rant about this, guys. I think it's cool that you can fill up the tips with the flowery substance or something else and you can fire and leave a little mark on a target. Sure, that's fine. We've been able to dip our darts in flour for years now, and now you just made a dart that can do it too. But think about it for 5 more seconds and you realize that this is not gonna work for an actual game setting. Like, I have more confidence in people banning these kinds of darts than actually embracing them for tournaments, guys. What are you thinking? So there's full lengths and half lengths, but I have to imagine the heads are not much bigger than their existing dart offerings, and that would make sense because it doesn't look like they're any bit bigger than the outside diameter of the foam, which means that the little hit marker that these things leave is going to be super teeny tiny. A big surprise, you're probably not going to see it. Now, even if you have the ideal surface, like a black shirt, and you get hit with one of these darts, are you going to be able to see it in an actual game? No, you're not. Not at all. Just think about the application for a game, and God forbid, think about the application for like a tournament setting or a competitive setting. I'm fresh off of a weekend of competitive play, so my mind is very tuned to how badly these things would be used practically. And that's if, imagine they work perfectly, right? They actually do hit you. I mean, this surface could potentially function for that. It hits me in the shoulder. It hits perfectly where it leaves that little mark right here. So yeah, even if there is a mark left on me, no one's gonna be able to see it. If they're standing right next to me, they might be able to see it. But what happens when they shoot at me and I'm trying to dodge it and it bounces off me and then suddenly I've moved? Oops, now you can't see it and I'm still moving and I've run away because, you know, that's how games work. Because that's how games work. And it's not because I turn away and I'm trying to brush it off my shoulder. No, it's because I'm literally playing, and that's how you move your body, and the darts are not going to be visible. And if you have people reffing from the sidelines trying to watch who's getting hit by darts, then they have a better chance of seeing a dart bounce off you than the tiny little 20-point font of a hit marker that's left by the dart. It's just not gonna work, guys. This is not going to replace referees. If anyone says that, that's silly. I don't see this newest iteration of chalk darts doing anything for competitive play or even casual play. I mean, yes, maybe things are a little bit slower and you can see really quickly on your own body if you got hit, but again, that's on an ideal surface. If it hits you perfectly, if it doesn't like just skid across you or bounce off without leaving any residue, oh, do you want residue left on you? Because I don't necessarily want residue left on me by my darts. You can fill it with flour, but what else can you fill it with? Don't answer that question out loud, please. And then most importantly, for people who actually care about their blasters, they've correctly pointed out, what happens when these things go into magazines? Are they gonna gunk all of those up? What happens when they go through flywheelers, through a sealed breech? What happens in there? Messy, messy. That's a good way to ruin your day, and it really just feels like these darts would potentially solve part of a problem while creating 1,000 more. Now, if this was a Dart Zone specific event and you were only able to use the new tags darts with their highest quality flour, then okay, I mean, that's what it is, so be it. But I would never want to run these darts through my blasters, and as I said before, I would imagine that people would rather ban these things than risk people trying to shoot questionable substances in their dart tips out of their blasters and then have someone pick it up and all of a sudden they've gunked up their own. I mean, I'm sure they'd be fine to use if the heads were left empty, but that seems to defeat the whole purpose of the dart. People are picky about their blasters and their ammo these days. And to take this all the way back to the very first comparison of Nerf versus Dart Zone, who's doing it better, which one is marginally better, so which one's best, I don't think Nerf is tackling this problem significantly better. You saw the Nerf ball video most likely where they're wearing the Stormtrooper, Clone Trooper inspired armor. That's what I'm calling it and that's what I'm going with. I don't think that kind of technology is going to be the better solution to detecting dart hits. Obviously, you can't wear that on your entire body and the technology clearly doesn't work perfectly enough. Otherwise, they'd be talking about it's coming soon so you can buy it. That's also not going to be affordable. I think that will be very, very cool if they can do it in a select group, but I also don't think that's going to be widely available. Sure, flour darts, chalk darts, I already keep forgetting the names, tags darts are going to be more widely available if they release them, but I don't think that solves the problem either. I think we're just gonna have to deal with that as enthusiasts who play foam dart tag, blaster tag, mind you, and maybe one day we'll all learn how to take our hits. But as always, those are my opinions, and I'd love to hear from you down in the comment section down below, whether you agree with what I said, disagree with what I said, somewhere in the middle, your favorite conspiracy theories about why this trademark was abandoned. I don't hate Dart Zone, guys. Dart Zone, if you're watching, I don't hate you. Again, I think you did good by abandoning the trademark. I think you guys can still have plenty of success going forwards, and if you want to talk, my DMs are open. You might have my number already. You might have my number already. Bye-bye. Hand skewer.